Predicting which two teams will play in the Super Bowl before the season starts can be tricky, and there have been some Super Bowl matchups that have truly come out of nowhere, but some can be more predictable than others. Today we will be presenting the 10 most predictable Super Bowl matchups of all time, and we will be doing that by using C-Score. This channel's metric for evaluating every single NFL team throughout the Super Bowl era beyond just looking at its record. For a deeper explanation of how C-Score works, be sure to check out the description of this video. Specifically, we will be looking at the C-Scores of the Super Bowl participants from the season before and adding them up. The higher that total, the more predictable that matchup will be. Yes, NFL offseasons include coaching changes, player movements, rookie classes, and other changes, but check out the odds for Super Bowl 60. All playoff teams from 2024 are here in the top 17. Two other teams, the Bengals and the 49ers, have been to Super Bowls recently and are popular bounce-back candidates. The Bears? That I can't explain. So, despite off-season changes, results from the season before do a lot to advise potential results for the season after. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's time to check out these matchups. We start off at number 10 with a Super Bowl matchup in the Midwest. This is from the 1991 season, and it's from Super Bowl 26 between the Buffalo Bills and the Washington Redskins. While the 91 Skins are one of the greatest teams during the Super Bowl era, the weight of this matchup comes from the Bills and their stellar 1990 season. Washington were solid in 1990, but not quite at Buffalo's level. Their combined C-score coming into the season is 45.163. The Bills made it to the first of their 4 consecutive Super Bowl appearances in 1990, with by far their best team during that time. They led the league in scoring while bringing a great defense as well, burning down the AFC during the playoffs. They entered Super Bowl 25 as favorites to defeat the New York Giants, but they were undone by a masterful game plan from Bill Belichick and a missed field goal in the game's waning seconds by Scott Norwood. The Redskins went 10-6, finishing behind those same Giants in the NFC East. They also finished behind the Philadelphia Eagles on account of a tiebreaker, putting them on the road against them in the wildcard round. Despite being a more offensive team, Washington brought it defensively in a 20-6 upset. They couldn't pull the trick again the following week in San Francisco, but they had clearly built something that would come to fruition the following season. After a strike-shortened season the year before, our number 9 entry brought us back to a full complement of games. That would be 1983, where the Los Angeles Raiders met up with the Washington Redskins in Super Bowl 18. They were the number 1 seed in their respective conference in both 82 and 83. But while the Raiders fell in the second round of the playoffs, the Redskins rode all the way to the championship. This combined C-score sits at 45.902. Their first season in LA in 1982 brought one more win than their final season in Oakland did, despite playing 7 fewer games. The Raiders weren't stellar defensively, but they could score with the best of them, finishing second in the league. They demonstrated that in the first round of the playoffs against the Browns, but could only muster 14 points against the Jets, an admittedly underrated team, crashing them out of the playoffs. Unlike the Raiders, the Redskins were more average offensively while leading the league in fewest points allowed. They entered the playoffs on a mission though, turning up the dial on offense, scoring over 6 more points per game than they did during the regular season. They avenged their only regular season loss in the NFC Championship game when they beat the Dallas Cowboys before bringing down Miami to win the franchise's first ever Super Bowl title. Entry number 8 takes us back to Super Bowl 8, where after the 1973 season, the Miami Dolphins met up with the Minnesota Vikings. And it's Miami, coming off their historic 1972 season, who carry the water here. The Vikings weren't quite the same team they were in 1969 or even in 1970, and certainly nowhere near the level of the Dolphins, but they were more than solid themselves in 72. This matchup brings us a combined C-score of 45.907. When we say the Dolphins were historic in 1972, we mean it. How does an undefeated record sound? Even though they played one of the 10 easiest schedules of the post-merger era, they had the team to win every game on that schedule. They proved their worth in the playoffs, even having to go on the road to win the AFC Championship game. In the end, they led the league in points scored and points allowed, finishing 17-0 as Super Bowl champions. After 4 straight division titles, the Vikings saw a drop-off in 1972, finishing the season 7-7. But that record is deceptive. They played the league's second hardest schedule while still finishing in the top half of the league in both scoring and points allowed. They did lead the league in one unfortunate category, most losses by a single possession with 5. This prevented them from a playoff appearance, but they clearly had the quality to bounce right back. As we move up one entry, we need only move up one season to find it. At number 7 are the 2 teams from Super Bowl IX, the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Minnesota Vikings. Leaping into contention over the past couple of seasons, Pittsburgh was truly on the verge of a breakout in 1973. The Vikings, of course, as we saw in our previous entry, made it to the Super Bowl in 1973. With both teams over 20, this combined C-score is 46.009. Some may have considered the 1972 Steelers as a bit fluky after defeating the Raiders with the Immaculate Reception. A small step back in 1973 would have fed those suspicions, but of course they would have been wrong. They lost out on a division title to the Cincinnati Bengals, but they still earned a wildcard berth with a triple-digit positive point differential. The Raiders got their revenge in the playoffs this season, but the Steelers dynasty was ready to roll. Minnesota had their step back the season before, but as we've already mentioned, that was in record only. They jumped up to 12-2, taking 4 fewer losses by 1 possession, and reclaimed the NFC Central Division title. They cleared out the NFC East contingent in the playoffs to get back to the Super Bowl, but they had the misfortune of going up against the powerhouse Miami Dolphins. They took control of that game in the early going, and they never let it go. We move back into the modern day for our number 6 entry. After the 2018 season, the New England Patriots faced off with the Los Angeles Rams in Super Bowl 53. While both teams kinda snuck their way into this game on account of their conference championship games, their respective performances from 2017 allowed them a strong degree of credence. They too both clear the 20-point mark for a combined C-score of 46.332. The Patriots entered the 2017 season as defending Super Bowl champions and were still in all-in mode looking to win another one. They won the AFC East and advanced to the AFC Championship game, where they escaped the Jaguars, who seemed disinterested in winning the game. Back in the Super Bowl, they received no gifts from their opponents, the Philadelphia Eagles. Having to earn it completely on their own this time, they fell, but they did so valiantly. After hiring Sean McVay as head coach, the Rams turned around more than a decade of losing in 2017, stunning the NFL by going from the league's lowest scoring team to its highest. NFC West champions for the first time since 2003, and only the second time since division realignment, the Rams looked to do some damage in the playoffs. Perhaps it was their lack of experience, nerves, or something else altogether, but they fell flat in the wildcard round, losing to the Falcons. Our number 5 entry gives us the closest matchup in Super Bowl history. This is from the 1978 season, Super Bowl 13 between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Dallas Cowboys. This was unquestionably the NFL's biggest interconference rivalry of the 1970s, and approximately 45 years later, it may still be. Dallas was by a good distance the better team in 1977, with this combined C-score pushing 50 at 48.641. The Steelers did break through for their first Super Bowl title in 1974 and followed that up with 2 more excellent seasons. 1977 was a bit more of a struggle, but for Pittsburgh, struggle means going 9-5 and winning their division while playing the league's second hardest schedule and dealing with off-field issues. The AFC belonged to the Denver Broncos though in 1977, and when the Steelers traveled there for the divisional round, they didn't have the firepower to get the job done. Dallas, on the other hand, was crushing it in the NFC. While the conference as a whole wasn't putting its best foot forward, the Cowboys proved themselves with a 12-2 record and by easily winning the East. The playoffs were a mere inconvenience, swatting away their opponents by a combined score of 60-13. Their true test would occur in the Super Bowl against the aforementioned Broncos. They turned that game into a laugher as well, ending the year as dominant Super Bowl champions. Only one Super Bowl has ever produced a rematch from the season before. That happened in 1993, and it takes our number 4 spot. Super Bowl 28 between the Buffalo Bills and the Dallas Cowboys. The NFC won every single Super Bowl between 1984 and 1996. It wasn't always through dominance, but more often than not it was, and the gap between these two teams demonstrates that. Still, their combined C-score now breaks the 50-point barrier at 51.052. For the Bills, memories of making their third consecutive Super Bowl appearance was all about the journey, not the destination. They lost out on the AFC East Division title to the Miami Dolphins, forcing them into the wildcard round. Of course, as many will already know, they trailed 35-3 against the Houston Oilers before making what is still the largest comeback in NFL playoff history. They eventually made it to the AFC title game, where they exacted their revenge over the Dolphins. 3 years earlier, the Cowboys were completely in the dumps, going 1-15 and being universally regarded as the league's worst team. 3 years later, the Cowboys had completely reinvigorated their franchise and were back in the Super Bowl for the first time since 1978. They had shown their greatness already by getting there, but they solidified it with a heartless dismantling of the Bills, kicking off a dynasty that saw them win 3 Super Bowls over a 4-year period. A little more recent history here for our number 3 entry. In 2013, the Denver Broncos matched up with the Seattle Seahawks in Super Bowl 48. Both of these teams went 13-3 and were the number 1 seed in their conference, so this was by no means a surprise Super Bowl. But digging even further, both teams were great in 2012 as well, with the Seahawks just ahead of Denver. Both were well over 20 in C-score, giving us a combined total of 53.153. Denver was a playoff team the season before, but in name only, so upgrades were on the way. They took a chance on an injured Peyton Manning, and boy did that pay off. The Broncos leapt up from 25th in scoring all the way to 2nd. With a very good defense also in tow, they had their sights set on the Super Bowl. It wasn't meant to be, as their talent wasn't enough to overcome the destiny of the Baltimore Ravens. 1 Hail Mary and 2 overtimes added up to a one and done. Looking to break the 7-9 schneid, the 2012 season saw the birth of the Legion of Boom for the Seahawks. They were trudging along at 6-5 before truly coming to life, ending the season on a 5-game winning streak. It wasn't quite enough to pip the 49ers for the NFC West title, but they did earn a wildcard berth. They won in Washington before coming up just short the following week in Atlanta. They hadn't completely arrived yet, but it was just around the corner. Just like at our 7th entry, we need only move ahead 1 year for our next one. The number 2 spot is occupied by the 2014 New England Patriots and Seattle Seahawks, combatants in Super Bowl 49. It's the Seahawks who are the defending Super Bowl champions here, with the Patriots seeking their return to Super Bowl glory after a decade away. New England can't hit 20 points in C-score here, but the Seahawks have them well covered, giving us a combined total of 54.941. Between 2001 and 2013, the Patriots' division opponents provided 7 double-digit winning seasons in 40 tries, so it's no surprise that they went 12-4 to win the division by 4 games. They got a bye into the divisional round where they defeated the Colts, coming off their own miracle win in the wild card round. They got taken down at Denver in the AFC Championship game, ending their underwhelming season, relatively speaking, of course. 2013 belonged to the Seattle Seahawks. Playing in the greatest division of the post-merger era, Seattle outlasted the 49ers to win it while displaying dominance over the course of the season. The playoffs were a bit more tenuous, but in the Super Bowl, they transformed the highest scoring team in NFL history into Barry Horowitz, smashing up the Broncos while playing up to the crowd. The 2013 Seahawks rank as the greatest Super Bowl champions of the 21st century. There hasn't been a whole lot of separation between entries in this countdown, but we find that now for our number 1 entry. Taking their place on the throne are the 1997 Denver Broncos and Green Bay Packers, who got together in the city of San Diego for Super Bowl 32. This wasn't a Super Bowl rematch like the Cowboys and Bills from 4 seasons earlier, but for all intents and purposes, it really was. The 96 Packers would have ranked 10th on this list with their C-score alone, but when combined with the Broncos, we get a stellar 65.294. It wasn't a Super Bowl rematch because of what happened to the Broncos in the 1996 AFC playoffs. Before that, they jumped up from an 8-8 record in 1995 to 13-3, handily winning the AFC West for the first time in 5 seasons. Armed with the number 1 seed, they were set for what appeared to be a tune-up game with the Jacksonville Jaguars, who had barely snuck into the playoffs at all. Instead, Denver suffered one of the biggest upsets in playoff history. Had they made it to the Super Bowl, though, it would have been tough sledding against this Green Bay Packers squad. 28 years have passed since this season, yet they remain the last team to ever lead the league in most points scored and fewest points allowed. The real wonder here is how this team actually lost 3 times. They followed up that dominant regular season by winning all 3 of their playoff games by at least 14 points, bringing the Vince Lombardi Trophy back home. No 2 teams from the 2024 season have the combined C-score to take over the number 1 spot on this countdown should they meet in Super Bowl 60. But a few can make the top 10, some even getting as high as number 2. Here are the 5 matchups that could do that, with the ranking they would achieve listed beside them. Interestingly, none include the 3-time reigning AFC champion Kansas City Chiefs, as despite this accomplishment, their C-score just isn't up to snuff. The Super Bowl champion Eagles get 2 of these matchups, but the Lions lead the way with 3. Now, taking a look at the top 10 as a whole, we can see some minuscule differences between these matchups, none closer than Super Bowls 18 and 8 at 9th and 8th place respectively. It wasn't until the number 5 spot that we got a jump of more than 1 point in combined C-score, but from this point forward, every jump was by more than 1, culminating with a massive leap of more than 10 points from 2nd to 1st. 4 different NFC franchises appear twice, with all 4 doing so in back-to-back entries. The Vikings and the Seahawks go even further by appearing in back-to-back seasons. Not to be undone, the AFC also provides 2 appearances by 4 different franchises. Thank you so much for making it this far into the video. Please help out the channel by liking and sharing it. If you've yet to do so, hit that subscribe button and ding the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of our future releases. Let me know what you think about all of this. Did you think Super Bowl 32 would be number 1 going in? And if so, did you think it would be by such a wide margin? What other matchups did you think would make the list? Do you think we'll get one of those 5 highlighted matchups in Super Bowl 60? Or are you predicting something completely different? Sound off on these topics or anything else you may have on your mind right down there in the comments section. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today. And until next time, I hope you have an awesome day.